It is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. Much love going out to the Empowered Harmonizers. And we're zooming in and focusing in on a great viewer question. And that was the fact that they have not felt a sense of gratitude or appreciation in their relationship or in their life for so long. They have just finally identified that this is one of the key emotional states that's so foundational and so important for happiness and security and safety in life, that can really make your life much more pleasurable and enjoyable, and that is the state of gratitude. When we talk about the recovery journal and going into your moments, one of the very first moments I always recommend is having a time set aside, even if it's one hour, one half an hour, 2 hours, just to feel gratitude. Even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes, starting there with baby steps in the beginning of the day, just feeling a state of gratitude for what you have. Oh, but Peace and Harmony, you don't know, it's been so terrible. I've been through the worst with this person. I can't stop crying. I can barely get up and go to work. I can't focus on my studies. I can't go to movies. I'm so ashamed. I'm so angry. I can't do this. Well, realize that those are all states that are, basically a preface to you becoming empowered. And the anger is all about your desire for self-protection. And the anxiety is also about a state of of having self-acceptance or acceptance of others and trying to prevent fear of abandonment. So when you look at the role of those emotions, basically begin to love and embrace and have compassion for yourself when you enter into these states, because these states are fundamental and they're trying to teach you something. They're trying to bring you back to balance, bring you back to go, bring you back to a state of homeostasis where you can then begin again, function again, and relate again. But when you go into these depressed moments, maybe for you're kind of isolating yourself or kind of tucking yourself away because you're feeling so downcast or downtrodden. You're feeling that life might not be worth living, or you feel that you're just so depressed and life doesn't hold any value or anything fun for you anymore. Realize that oftentimes that this state, this deep rest, is trying to get you to a state of safety in self-preservation and self-protection. So, and that is becoming, basically what it is it's requiring you to develop, if you haven't developed it yet, a state of self-compassion, which means, wow, you really have been through hell in a handbasket and this has not been fun. I have got to change. I want things to change. Let's make this happen. And oftentimes, you're looking onto others and how they had disappointed you, how they devalued and discarded you, how they sabotaged you, how they scapegoated you. I mean, all these horrific things that you've been through, and now you're left empty-handed with nothing. And this person is just whistling and ho-humming along, and you're like, how did I get the raw end of the deal? I can barely recover from this. And my answer is, these questions are you're beginning to validate yourself in a way that these other individuals or entities could not. And so the state of, feeling, why haven't I been appreciated or looked on with favorably? Why have I received all these sneers, these disparaging comments, this aggression, this hostility? Realize this has to do more with projection and attribution theory. Realize that when people, it's very interesting, attribution theory is that when people tend to be going around something horrible, like the loss of a job, or they feel like they don't have enough money, or they don't feel like they're good looking enough, or they've had a rough day, they tend to look and attribute the cause of that to something which is present in their environment. And then they tend to look for a recurring pattern that is always there. For example, if you have had a bad day of work, or your work is so stressful, or you don't like your job, and then every time you come home, there's the dog looking at you. I want to eat. Do you want to play? Then that person who's just had the bad job tends to say, you're such a bad dog. All you want to do is eat. You're such a bad dog. All you want to do is go for a walk. You take too much work. You take too much care. You are making my life miserable. So do you see how that person who in a state of feeling, their life isn't going well, they're not in a happy place, maybe they don't like their job, or they're not where they want to be. And then every time they see the face of that poor puppy who's like, let's eat, let's play, let's cuddle, just the normal natural things a pet should do and be therapeutic, if that person will always, this is not all people, but what I'm stating, because some people, they love to see their pet at the end of the day. But attribution theory basically says that people will tend to blame and assign causation to that which presents itself when everything wrong has occurred. In other words, traffic always makes me late. You are too slow, that's why I'm always late. These attribution theory can oftentimes assign false blame and false accusations to those people who are around, and you're like, if you hear it so many times, you end up believing it. So that's why people internalize this large inner critic, because, if someone is always yelling at you, belittling you, condemning you, treating you with scorn, you're, yay, if you hear it 100,000 times, they must be right. So you begin to not hear your own inner voice and your own positive self-assessment and your positive acceptance. So it is very important to realize that when you're with a narcissist or a psychopath, oftentimes because they perpetually project this imperfection or this anger or this hostility, or they're not loving you or not giving you the love, it is oftentimes because it's very difficult to feel gratitude and have that full, wonderful feeling if you're constantly in a state of being told that you're imperfect, or that something is inherently flawed with you, or, you are so lazy, or you are this, or you are so that, and the anger, the sneers, the yelling, the slamming of the doors. It's hard to feel gratitude and grateful, because no matter where you look, you can never find anything good enough. And if nothing is ever good enough, then it's very difficult to feel grateful. There's always a need for the covert narcissist to have something more. They're always either, living in the future of who they're going to be, the big hat, no cattle syndrome, where they're always hyping up their ego, and you just happen to be along for the ride, basically. It's not really a relationship. You're just here. They're quips about their own life, and there's not really interaction or sharing. That's such a key topic. There is very little sharing in narcissist and psychopathic relationships, because it's all a facade, a front, and they can't really share experiences like, oh, look at this beautiful sunset, or, let's look at these beautiful buildings, or this, whatever it is you're interested in, let's go bird watching. There's very little to share, because there's this, always an imbalance of the superiority of this person, and it's very difficult to engage in the state of gratitude when there's always something wrong with either you or something in the environment. And it creates this hyper focus, meaning a hyper criticism or a hyper focus into the world to try to prevent this negative state from occurring that is so toxic. And basically, people who then stay in a relationship with these people, then they're kind of forced to develop an overly critical look at themselves. They're always bashing themselves, either verbally, physically, or even unconsciously, by isolating. If you are, constantly isolating yourself, it's because, deep inside, part of you feels like you're not worthy of companionship. And things like companionship are not comforting to you, because you've been so imprinted and so conditioned to feel negative around others because of all the hitherto criticism, or the trials and tribulations where you did not succeed in the relationship. It's very difficult to find comfort then in relationships. It's very difficult to find comfort in eye contact. It's very difficult to find contact in touch or affection if all this has occurred. It just doesn't work. You might be happier with the dog or books or videos and find that more relatable and therapeutic. But one important thing that I feel is very important is that if you have encountered this, it's very important to let go that covert narcissist sort of energetic pressure that they tend to project onto others, and come into a state of gratitude. Realize that you are good enough, and that find that you have so much to be grateful for. I've got 2 feet with which I can wear my shoes. I can find warm enough socks. I have enough food on my table. The temperature is comfortable. If you can list 20 things that you can be grateful for, oh, peace and harmony, I don't know if that sounds kind of silly. Well, just try it and do it. And then, encourage and challenge your emotional, system, your emotional, and your, what's the word that I'm looking for? Make sure you get that, control that focus, and that it's going to come to me here in a moment, but that specific function where you focus on specific things through just your filter. Begin to create your filter onto that which you are grateful for. So begin to more proactively then create a filter. Remove the filter, like from a dirty car, filter, or from like a lens in your glasses that don't help you to see things clearly. Begin to put and create a filter of gratitude. Your reticular activating system, that's what it is, because your reticular activating system will tend to search for things, like if I say red, or if I say green, or if I say blue, you'll tend to look at everything which is blue, and then remember that's your reticular activating system. But once you are really able to write down a list of 20 things that you can be grateful for, you're like, hey, I do have some things to be grateful for. And then you're able to enter into that emotional state on command, which is very important to healing, because you need to enter or find that emotional mastery where you're able to enter into the more empowering emotional states on command. If you can list 20 things, I'm grateful for the armrest on this chair. I'm grateful for the wood that it's made out of. I'm grateful for all the people who designed and sanded this down. I'm grateful for the varnisher. I'm grateful for the healthy plant behind me that has a great window to look at. I'm grateful for the softness of this sweater. I'm grateful for the size and comfort of this necklace. I'm grateful that this neck brace is tolerable. I'm grateful that I had delicious coffee this morning. I'm grateful that I was able to see the sunrise and it's a sunny day. I'm grateful that I have warm enough pants on. I mean, these are things that it doesn't have to be anything, but once you're able to write down a list of 1 to 20, you're able then to enter into a state of gratitude, which is really one of the most powerful emotional states that a human being can enter into, because it is empowering, it's positive, and it begins to pull together all the electromagnetic energy in the heart and really give you that fuel and that lift, and that you're able to align to a more empowering state. And if you can do that frequently, you'll basically then reset your neurological hardware and the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system in your musculature to feel gratitude. And then victory. I mean, these are all emotional states which you need to enter into on command. And that's really the goal of a moment, is to make sure, and you're enforcing for yourself, writing it down will make sure it is so, that you're giving yourself a chance to enter into more positive emotional states than just sulking in the negative and not knowing why. You can do this. You can write down a list of 1 to 20 things. You can find a pad of paper. You can find yourself a pen. If you don't have a pad of paper or pen, let's go and get one today and write down on the top gratitude. And then write down your list from 1 to 20 and write down things that you have great gratitude for. A relationship, an upbringing, a home, friendships. Go ahead and write down 20 and see if you can do this for the next week. And call this upon this self, and then reread your list. You can enforce this. It takes 5 minutes. Why not take 5 minutes to reset your neurological hardware so you can wire and fire more positively and recruit more neurons that will help your reticular activating system focus on more of the positive, and little by little, you'll be able to have a whole new identity and feeling and perspective once you enforce this. Do this. You can do it. It takes a few minutes, and the payoff are priceless. You can do this, and I'd be pleased to hear your results. It's your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support.